This video is sponsored by Train World, America's discount model train store since 1968. Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from the DIY and Digital, and today I'm taking you through my toolbox. Welcome back everybody. First of all, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you are eligible for the 10,000 subscriber giveaway sponsored by Train World. They were nice enough to give me a couple really cool prizes to give away, and you can check out those prizes as well as see how to enter in a video in the description below, as well as right up here. Now, speaking of Train World, they are up in the New York City area, and please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. So today I am taking you on a little tour of the tools that I use on my model railroad, my daily drivers, my things I can't live without, and some of my bigger power tools that I use on a regular basis. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take a look at my daily drivers first. Okay, let's dive right into probably the tool that I use the most out of any specific tool, and that is just a good set of nippers. There are just so many things that I use this for. It is an impromptu wire stripper. It lets me do flush cuts with different parts. It lets me trim off it. There's just so many uses for a good set of nippers in a model railroader's toolkit. And these are from Craftsman, but I have several sets of nippers. It's really one thing you can't have enough of, because these are just something really great to grab real quick when you need to just trim something off or all that kind of stuff. I cannot understate. I'm always a little distraught when I've misplaced my nippers, because they're something that are very crucial to me doing my model railroading. On that same vein, utility knives are another thing that I use a lot of. They're really great for doing precision cuts. It's probably because I use a lot of these temporary tools. I do have some utility knives with replaceable blades, but I have just a ton of these little cheapo utility knives that you can pick up for a couple bucks. And these are just great because the blades just allow them to be so accurate with their cuts, and you can just do so much. And I use them for scoring, I use them for marking, I use them for you name it. I use utility knives for just so many different things. This is definitely my number 2 of my most important tools. Another really important tool to me are small screwdrivers, both Phillips and flathead, though I do like more flathead because you can use them in Phillips and flathead. And then I've found that actually sometimes smaller flatheads are better for not stripping those small Phillips head screws. And these are godsends, especially when you're doing a lot of wiring underneath with Arduinos, as you've seen me do recently. These things just come in handy, and when you drop one, it's not like you're not having a fun day, because if you can't find it, then you got to completely stop everything. But these are essential to have in a model railroader toolkit. My next thing is a good set of needle nose pliers. Needle nose pliers are really great for model railroading, simply because you do have the precision and the space to just be able to get into small spaces and place things. And they do have a little bit of cutting and stripping ability, so if you can't find your nippers, you can do a little bit of cutting and stripping with these, though not nearly as much as you can with the nippers. These just allow for a lot of precision, especially when part placement for scenery, or if you need to hold something in place when you're working on a locomotive or a piece of rolling stock. Always good to have a good set of needle nose pliers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be one of this size either. You can definitely, I have several different sizes of needle nose pliers. My next thing is, I know that people have several different names for these. I call them pin vices, but this thing is just absolutely amazing for doing very slow drill work when you're putting specific things into spots on scenery, or you're needing to be very careful and very precise with small drill holes in different models and that kind of stuff. Pin vices are absolutely the number 1 most amazing tool for that, and I absolutely love it. And I only have one of these. I really need to get more, because when I misplace this thing, I'm not having a good day. A lot of times I have to stop the project. So pin vices, absolutely amazing, and something else that I consider essential for a model railroader's toolkit. So we're talking about a paintbrush here, obviously, but we're not using this paintbrush for what you would think. It's not for paint. I use this for cleaning up scenery. These type of brushes with really good bristles, they can just really pick up scenery and move it in different places that you need it to go, whether you're cleaning up or you're sweeping the little piles for shop vacs, all sorts of stuff like that. It's really good to just have a brush that you keep dry, that you keep paint off of it, just for cleaning up your scenery, and this has been an absolute godsend to have in my set. This is one of my favorite tools, probably getting on the latter end of the daily driver, but having a good wire stripper will help you out, especially when you're constructing your layout. Especially for me, when I do a lot of Arduino projects with a lot of wiring, just having all the different guides and then having the overall blade right there, and then having a little flat end that you can use for crimping or anything like that. It's a really, really good tool to have in your kit, and I highly recommend getting a decent wire stripper. They don't cost a lot of money either. My next tool is and this is going to be a bit of an alliteration here, a small awl. I make dumb jokes, people. But this is really great for when you need to make a hole for scenery, such as planting trees, or you need to just have spaces. It's really great to have an awl. You can also get several kinds with different little hooks on them. This came in a set from Harbor Freight, and I have several different ones. One has a 90-degree, one has a full hook. These are really great for just little random tasks. I use this one particularly for when I install trees in my scenery. Next is a good chisel. Good chisel doesn't necessarily have to be a specific blade, but a good chisel like this is just really good to have for scraping things and just having to work with scenery when you're having to get on something that's a little tough, but you don't want to damage a lot of your scenery. Having a small chisel like this is going to be something that is going to help you out in the long run. This is like a small carving chisel. Definitely not the same fortitude as other chisels, but good having a little small chisel in your kit is something that I highly recommend. And now to the last of my daily drivers, a good set of helping hands with a magnifying glass. This is really great not just for wiring, but it's also great for doing precision work. You got two little clasps right here and a magnifying glass, and I've used this so many times in doing not just my wiring, but doing model building, especially in N-scale. You can find these for really cheap. A good set of helping hands with a nice little weighted base is really just going to help you out. I mean, it literally is another set of hands, hence the name Helping Hands. And I highly recommend considering putting one of these in your toolkit. So those are my daily drivers. Those are the ones that I use just about every time when I am working on my model railroad in one form or another. And those are ones that I really cannot live without. So let's take a look at some of the power tools that I use. These are the more expensive things, but these are the things that I've come to rely on when I need that little bit of extra oomph when I'm doing something on my layout. My first big power tool that I recommend is some kind of rotary tool, whether it's a Dremel or it's a different brand. This is a Chicago Electric, which is sold at Harbor Freight. These are really great just for if you need to bore into something, cut into something, do something that's more precision than what a drill can do. These are really great, plus they can host quite a few bit types. So having an electric tool like this is really handy to have. Next up is a soldering iron. Soldering irons really are just one of the staples of model railroading. If you're going to have the best connected track, you're going to solder the track connections. If you're doing any sort of Arduino work and you're making it permanent, soldering the connections is going to give you the most bulletproof electrical work. Having a good soldering iron that works well with your hands, that you can do more precision work with. I like this one because it has the pistol grip. I've used several different types, but using a good soldering iron to do your work is really something that is critical for doing model railroading, especially when it comes to electrical work. Now this is actually, I would probably consider one of my more fun tools. I think static grass applicators are just a load of fun just because it's an instant result that you can see. It's like you just shake it out over there and you see just instant realistic looking grass. It's one of those things that can really make your layout pop. Speaking of pop, you do have to be careful. I have been electrocuted several times with little arcs jumping, and it really hurts. It's like a really bad static electrical pop. But this is something that when used properly, can really just add a ton of realistic detail to your layout. And there's ways to make these from scratch. I ended up just buying mine. I'll link this one in the description below, or one similar. But static grass applicator, a really great thing to have to make your scenery look more realistic. My final tool is an airbrush with a pump. Now I use an airbrush with a gravity feed. There's other types, but this is something that has helped me out so much in model making and building models. The biggest thing that's helped me out with is getting rid of paint streaks and paint lines. I know that there's amazing ways to get rid of those just with special techniques, but using an airbrush, it is a bit of a learning curve. I had to do very specific things to be able to get the exact results that I want, and I have already burned through one airbrush. And they are a bit of a bear to maintain, but using an airbrush and being able to use an airbrush is one of those things that will significantly help the look of painted items on your layout. So that's what's in my toolbox. There's a couple of other things, obviously. It's a toolbox, but these are the main tools that I use on a daily basis, if I need a little bit of power to them. These are the things that I consider essential to my model railroading. I'd love to know what you consider essential to your model railroading. Leave that in a comment below. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss any updates like this video. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Happy railroading!